Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to From Classroom to Cutting Edge Science, Empowering Georgia's Future Biotech Workforce. Thank you for joining Life Sciences for today's conversation about how innovative education and workforce initiatives are preparing students to meet real-world scientific challenges and support Georgia's growing life science ecosystem. My name is Philip Gibson, and I'll be guiding today's discussion. We're excited to be joined by three leaders who have and bring perspectives from education, policy, and hands-on research. First, we have Juan-Carlos Aguilar. He's the Director of Innovative Programs and Research at the Georgia Department of Education. Next, we have Kate Shearer. She's the iGEM Program Director at Lambert High School. And finally, Janet Standeven, longtime Georgia life science educator, community leader, and nationally recognized innovator featured on a 60 Minutes piece just recently. So together, we'll share how students are gaining critical skills, mentorship, and nationally recognized real-world research experience. And we'll look at what it takes to bring those opportunities, scale them across Georgia. We'll start with some brief remarks from each speaker, and then we'll move into a panel discussion. We'll wrap up with some key takeaways and ways to stay engaged with Georgia Life Sciences. So let's begin with a statewide perspective. Juan-Carlos, from the state's perspective, workforce readiness in life sciences is more important than ever. What skills and competencies are most critical for students entering biotech and life sciences pathways today?
Well, excuse me. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry if you hear a little bit of noise. I am at the Kite club in DC and heading back home today. But uh, to answer your question, Philip, let's put it in perspective about what the history of life science education in K-12 in Georgia has been. We started this long process um, about probably 12 to 15 years ago, in which Philip and several members of the biotechnology industry and group approached the Department of Education with the idea of making biotechnology an option into the core science area. Biotechnology resides right now into the CTAE, career technical education groups, but they had the idea to bring it together. So we started a process with teachers in Georgia that included faculty, members of the industry, to study the way that we could make those courses that we have in the career technical education area acceptable to the University System of Georgia as a full site. After a lot of work, we accomplished that task. As today, we have two biotechnology courses: the applications of biotechnology and the essentials of biotechnology, that are both career technical education courses and science courses accepted by all higher ed institutions in Georgia. So that's the background in which we move. Of course, these two courses apply to several of the career pathways that we have in Georgia. At this moment, we have 17 different career clusters, and several of those use applications of biotechnology and essentials of biotechnology as core courses into the second or third courses students need to complete in order to complete the pathway in general. So that is kind of the background in which the question Philip has asked about what essential skills these students would need. Uh, as part of the biotechnology structure of all our CTA courses, all those courses focus uh, essentially in the first part, that the focus is on developing the um, career skills that are necessary, like communication skills, critical thinking skills, um, ability to work in groups, um, essential um, content knowledge about the pathways that we have. So that is in general what is in all the standards or framework standards that we have for all the CPA courses. Those include the biotechnology courses. At the same time, because now biotechnology is considered for science, students that go to that pathway that develop in theory a strong foundation knowledge in biology, and depending on the career that they took, they may have taken some AP physical science, sorry, AP chemistry or AP physics in those courses. Physics is probably the one that is probably is not more common when you look at the course taking patterns in students in Georgia. But biology, AP biology, and then biotechnology, and then they take either chemistry or something else. Generally, some students take advanced courses like in macrobiology. That is also a course that is offered within the science catalog of options that students have. So that would be probably the bag of skills that students leading the K-12 education system in Georgia carrying as they embark in the exploration of career in the biotechnology areas.
Thank you. That really helps frame what's going on with students in K through 12 in Georgia and how we've set up their preparing for jobs in the industry. So how is Georgia supporting schools in offering more applied, industry-aligned STEM and biotech education?
I think it's a complicated answer, but the simple way to just put it is systems in Georgia have a great level of freedom about how they construct the syllabus or the curriculum that students will complete um, at the end of 12th grade. Uh, the Department of Education in Georgia role in doing this is to make sure that we provide teachers with the professional learning necessary to be able to teach those courses. That would be one thing. The other thing that we do, and when I say we, is more the Career Technical Education Office, is we provide a lot of engagement and opportunities for the business and industries around Georgia to support or to influence systems about the course offerings that they will give the students as choices. And so that partnership between industry and K-12 education helps systems to uh, support or sell the idea that in areas in which we have a strong uh, presence of biotechnology industries, those are the careers that students probably are more um, encouraged to pursue and get the initial steps through partnerships, through internships in some cases, especially during the summer, especially in grades when the students become juniors and seniors, that they have that kind of exposure. Another thing is partnerships that we have had um, with different groups in which they provide professional learning to the teachers in middle school so they can start developing some of the skills and some of the interests in their students to go and get involved in biotechnology careers later on. So those are the things that we do. As I said, most of the work is done at the local school system because that's the way that the law in Georgia is constructed. So the decisions are made there. But the support that the department provides is, as I described, basically professional learning, developer standards, looking at ways to um, bring courses or make some decisions to help them modify courses so they can be taught into a core content area, as I was going to start. Work with them to see how we can uh, modify probably would not be the word, but use the current rules and regulations in order to better support the works that is aimed to develop the students that are ready for the uh, careers are present in the different areas in Georgia.
So that's the perfect segue to my next question, and that is, how does Georgia Life Sciences and what role does Georgia Life Sciences play in helping with those programs you've just described?
I think that the role was critical because without your support, actually, of the Georgia biotechnology community or Georgia life science community, some of these decisions could not have been taken place. Um, when we try, when we think about how we can partner between technical college system, the university college system, and the K-12 education system, and make sure that all of us are working together without external partners guiding us and telling us how those partners are important and they're good for the economic well-being of Georgia, those things will not move forward as easy as they have been. I mean, I think the partnership has been critical to make sure that these ideas of using CPA courses to support core content areas is critical. As a result, right now, and with the work of Superintendent Woods, we now have several career pathways in which that are called CTAE plus pathways, because those pathways, about 7 of them in science, I think we have about 14 of those in mathematics, 7 of them in social, in English language arts, and social studies. Those pathways, I'm sorry, not social studies, so English language arts. Those pathways, by students completing those pathways that are CTAE oriented pathways, they receive the 4 credit in ELA or mathematics or science. So this idea that started with just those 2 courses that I mentioned at the beginning, applied biotechnology and essentials of healthcare, has the essentials of biotechnology, has now grown into a more purposely use of the CPA courses, revising their standards, infusing them with core disciplinary ideas in a more rigorous way that allows students to be better prepared to um, explore those pathways and, if they so desire, move into those careers in the future.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Juan Carlos, for setting the big picture context for us as we move through our panel today. I do want to mention to everyone that we will take some questions. I see there's some activity in the chat and whatnot, and we're collecting those. We'll try to get to those questions as time permits. So please keep putting those in. Thank you very much. So now let's shift from policy to what it looks like inside the high school classroom. Kate, you lead the iGEM program at Lambert High School. It has become a powerful model for student-led biotech research. Your students work on Lyme disease, gained that work that they did, gained national attention through that 60 Minutes piece that hopefully everyone's gotten a chance to see. What makes iGEM such a unique and impactful experience for students? And what did the 60 Minutes experience mean for your students as young scientists?
Great. I think you hit the nail on the head with student-led. This is iGEM is a unique opportunity for students to really pick their own project and have agency in what they design and how they go about it. Not only is the project their own, but they also have a chance to show leadership skills by creating streams of work and project management and making sure that they're collaborating in a useful way and that they set their own project deadlines. And the problems that they're working on are incredibly cutting edge. So they just look at papers that are out there and think, well, why can't I do that too? So because they are kind of young and a little bit less experienced in what shouldn't work, we don't know what won't work, so we just try. So I tell them this: there will never again be a time in science where you are basically self-funding your research and you can just pick a problem and decide you want to become an expert on it and work on it. So I think the sense of agency and taking ownership of these goals is one of the unique things. And then the 60 minutes experience, I think, is still evolving. So for the students, it brought a sense of awareness in the community of what we were doing. Like their friends knew that they were in here working for long hours. They didn't really know what it was. So it was, I think, rewarding for them to see, like, have people understand better what they're doing. And I think too, for the students, we started getting letters and emails from people who have Lyme disease that were just reaching out to say, thank you for working on this. And that was really impactful because, again, this is a project they picked and they worked on, and they felt that this could be an authentic, like, push, and they felt a little bit like they contributed to the community, to the conversation about Lyme disease in some way, in a meaningful way. And that really impacted them a lot to see the program out there and to start to get that feedback from the community.
Wow. When students realize they're working on a real scientific problem, how does that change their engagement or their confidence with what they're doing?
I think they see that what they're doing could forward the knowledge base of that field, for sure, with this one, with this having this exposure on 60 Minutes. And then they've been invited to submit a paper to Frontiers. The Frontiers Journal has an iGEM collection. So their work will be out there, hopefully published and searchable for forever. So I think they're starting to understand that that's could lead to other people taking it further and doing more work leading into it. And then the fact that they basically become experts on their piece of this project. So similar to a grad student who works on one thesis and becomes the expert on it, they're now the experts on this procedure that they developed. And that's incredibly increasing their engagement or their confidence in this project.
So I'd like to revisit something that Juan-Carlos brought up that I think is really critical. Beyond lab techniques, what kinds of professional and problem-solving skills do the students develop through programs like iGEM?
There's a very unique opportunity for collaborative work on a project like this, because there's so much work and everybody has to pitch in. There can't be people just drifting along and not contributing. So the leaders of the team involved in project management and setting the pace for the project, and then just learning how to collaborate with people in such a way that they're getting the best work. They're almost creating a mini startup where they're working through the problems together and everybody's contributing a small piece, and even arranging the team. So I involve the seniors in who makes the team. So they have to think about, well, we need an artist and we need a speaker and we need somebody who can do wet lab and somebody who can software. So those sort of hiring decisions and the logistics of collaborating and communicating. So that's part of the joy too, is to see these kids that come in super shy and quiet as sophomores, and by the time they're seniors, they're able to speak in front of hundreds of people for 10 minutes about the project.
Those are critical skills. If other schools want to build similar programs, what support or resources would make the biggest difference for them?
Sure. It's very intimidating to pick up a project like this. Even coming into a program that was so well established as Lambert's, it was a little scary to jump in. So I think having somebody, a mentor, kind of like we talk about the students having a near peer, somebody who's another teacher or a college professor that is willing to, even if they're not providing technical support, at least providing some sort of an outlet for when you have a question about how to reach out and find out the information that you need. So I think both a mentor in how to organize the team, and then obviously how to do the work itself. And then something like Georgia Life Sciences, where we have a cohort kind of created for us by the organizations that Megan puts together in the workshops. That infrastructure being there helps support programs like iGEM or BioBuilder in the schools, so that the teachers have a knowledge base to help support the students. And then there's obviously for iGEM, a large financial need, but there are other programs that are less costly. But just to register for an iGEM team, which I just did today, it was 5,000 euros. That was $6,000 to register an iGEM team. And $3,000 to be judged. And this is just out of reach for many high schools. So there are other programs that don't have quite such a high entrance fee. But if some of those could be taken care of, if there is a way to take away some of the registration costs, then that would make it more accessible as well.
Thank you, Kate. That gives us a great look at how innovation can thrive at the school level. Now I'd like to turn to someone who's seen firsthand how powerful these experiences can be for the students' futures. Janet, you have moved from being Lambert's iGEM instructor to leading Frugal Science Academy at Georgia Tech to an international role now at the iGEM Foundation. What kind of doors have you seen iGEM open for your former students?
Well, there's really been, for my former students, they're now, so I did iGEM started in 2013. So those 2013 seniors are now fully in the workforce. And I kept track informally over the years of where they ended up. And primarily, most of them stayed in STEM fields. They may not have stayed in bioengineering. They may have, wandered a little bit, as I like to joke around about them, but they stayed in fields that are making a difference in both quality of life in terms of the research that they're doing, but also they're aware of global problems. They think on a more international level, even if they don't even stay in, science, STEM at all. They're still, because of the iGEM experience, they're able to communicate more thoroughly. They think on a global scale, and I get emails, almost on a monthly basis, or, somebody tags me in on a social media platform and says, "Hey, just wanted to let you know I'm now working at, this and such startup company, or I'm doing this now." And even though I'm not in science anymore, I still use those skills that I learned in having to develop the wiki, or how did I communicate a difficult topic, or how did I engage with stakeholders and take feedback that was negative, right? Sometimes students come up with projects and their ideas, and they're not necessarily the best ideas. And then they hear the feedback, and students aren't used to necessarily getting negative results or negative feedback. And it is really powerful for them to experience that, internalize it, and realize how to come back from that. How do you move forward? What are those problem solving skills that you have? Sorry, I have a tendency to talk a
No,
lot.
that's wonderful. I love that. So how do real world research challenges change how students see themselves and what they believe is possible for their careers?
So I think, like what Kate said, is the students reading the papers and diving into the original sources start to break down the scientific process. So they've heard all these years through our core science classes what the scientific process is. And when they're reading the papers, they're like, "Oh, that's the methods. Oh, they did these. Maybe we can try these methods." So they really start to internalize what's been built into their core sciences. So that's one thing. But the other thing is they start to go, like Kate said, "Hey, they did this. If we have these reagents, why can't we?" And so they start to see themselves as participating and not just absorbing the scientific knowledge, but actually being able to participate and put forward new knowledge. So again, going from an observer to a participant in a classroom, that's where you get engagement.
Teachers certainly play a critical role in making those opportunities happen. What
Absolutely.
kinds of yeah, they do. They do. Everyone remembers a teacher that had an effect on them. Absolutely, that's true. What kinds of support do educators need to successfully run advanced research-driven programs like these?
So the one thing I'll say from my experience is they need administrators who are willing to be open-minded and flexible. And iGEM at Lambert would not exist, and I wouldn't be where I am. Kate's kids and the program wouldn't be where it is if we hadn't had a forward-thinking department chair in Brittany Cantrell, and then my principal, Gary Davidson, was like, science is important. How can I help you? And so, I would go to him and say, I need a way to be able to work with kids at 6:30 in the morning. We'll get you into the building at 6:30 in the morning. It would be really great if, the kids, if we could figure out how to have this during the school day. So there was flexible scheduling and figuring out how we could code the courses for students, scientific research being one of them. So students could have this as part of their curricular development, which then opened up, more time during the school day. It just having supportive administrators who are willing to sit down and listen to the teachers and the community. And it was a lot of the community support. Parents came in and said they wanted this, and the administrators listened and figured out a way to make that happen. Some other resources that we really benefited from, Georgia Life Sciences runs an equipment depot, and free equipment and resources are available. And because companies or labs in Georgia have donated them, and that is unbelievably helpful. That's how I got my first centrifuge. But you need some physical capital equipment to be able to do this research. And science, biotech is expensive, but so is football. And so, it's unfortunately, and I love football. My son played football, but it's a matter of our priorities. And I think, and sometimes we need to think about, you know, do we need new uniforms for a certain team, or could we buy an autoclave? And I know those pots of money come from different places. Please don't shoot me. But I think being open to think of ways to engage your local community in providing some of those resources to help would be beneficial as well.
So thank you for that. How has the Georgia Life Sciences Biotech Teacher Training Initiative, how has that helped you and your students push beyond the traditional classroom?
So when I first started teaching biotech, my background was in chemistry. And so I was a participant in some of those early teacher trainings where I learned to do some of the most basic techniques. And it was instrumental in giving me the skills I needed to feel competent in front of my students. Because teachers, I find teachers all over the world who want to bring this kind of research to students, but they're limited sometimes. I don't want to seem foolish. I don't want to waste my students' time. I don't know how to do this. And so Georgia Life Sciences, through its training program, gave me the skills to then be able to turn around and teach my students.
Thank you. That really brings the student experience to life for us. Thank you. So now I'd like to turn to all three of you for some conversation together with this next round of questions. We've heard about policy, school programs, and real-world research. Where do you see the biggest gaps between education and workforce expectations, and how can partnerships help close those gaps? So don't everybody jump in at once with their answer to that question.
Okay, I will jump in first. I would say that one gap that is present, and it has to do with the way that laws are written, is the ability of students to engage in internships and at early years. I mean, we have a low and by reasons well established a minimum age in which students can go and work into the lab, right? Um, However, I think imagining ways in which we can offer these opportunities to younger students would be very useful to increase the engagement and the hooks that are necessary to keep them in the industry, whatever industry it is, not just biotechnology, whatever it is. But I think that's one gap that we need to work at.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I run into that with youth programs running programs at Georgia Tech. The paperwork to bring students on campus, they have to be at least 16. So there's no exceptions to that. And then the paperwork and the supervision that is required when the students are on campus is almost, I won't say insurmountable because we do it every year, but it's challenging. And if there were better systems to be able to import, a strategy to be able to do that in more workplaces, it would be phenomenal.
That's probably the number one question I get from my students is where can I work for the summer? I'm like, 16, I don't think you can. Like, I don't know where to tell you to go. And then at the same kind of the flip side of that is most teachers have been either never in the industry or out of the industry for a long time, and it changes very quickly. So 6 months later, the things that I know were outdated. So I would love to have, I don't know, some sort of an infusion of what's current in biotech. What should I be stressing to my students? We're doing a mini project where I have them, they bought biotech stocks already, and then we're tracing it for the month. And it's been actually enlightening for me to see what stocks are going up. So it helps me know what the field is in, what's increasing in the field. So it just, it's a rapidly changing outcome.
I think
Go ahead,
I think that
Janet.
brings up a really interesting point, Kate, is I found also teachers are sometimes, we're a standards-based education system in Georgia. So we have to teach to the standards. And if it doesn't fit in the standards, there really isn't, a lot of teachers by their local school districts are really constrained to the word of the standard. And unfortunately, in our field, biotech and especially genetic engineering are changing monthly. And so to stay current with what's new and offering these research-based opportunities, having some flexibility in the standards and the application of those standards, I think would be helpful. Or having more courses like the scientific research where students get the opportunity to do the research. One of the things that I would really like to see is, can you get AP credit for doing scientific research? Not the AP, and this is probably off topic, but AP research is different than scientific research. And a lot of students are afraid because of the hit to their GPA to take scientific research because they're not getting that extra bump in their GPA because it's not AP leveled. So that's just a suggestion from a state level perspective of something to look into.
I think that's a great point. Yeah, I think it's also important to remember that the standards are the minimum.
Yes.
And so, you want
Yes.
to hit those.
Yes, I realize.
Good to say that.
So this type of thing reaches sometimes beyond the standards. And one of the things that we do is we prepare crosswalks, and our teacher training pushes those crosswalks in that these experiences in the classroom will cover these particular standards, and it helps teachers see how this does apply, by the way. So let me ask another question. How can industry play a stronger role in mentoring, project sponsorships, or curriculum alignment in these programs? And I know, Juan Carlos, you mentioned that already a little bit, but let's expand on that if we can.
Yeah, I think I'm just connecting to some of the conversation. I think Kate mentioned this, Janet, a little bit. One opportunity that industry has is probably working directly with teachers to update their skill sets. As they said, they had that opportunity of going, I mean, the industry changes very fast. I mean, once we go into real life, what we are teaching today is probably something that happened a century ago. I mean, just look at physics, right? We teach physics that was true the way that was taught in the 16th or 17th century. Okay? It is still true today, but it's basic and it needs to be. But when you go into applications, then that gap cannot be that big. Okay? I think that were true a year ago may not be the best skill or the best methodology to do the study today. Okay? So one of the things that industries could do is partnership with school systems, so based on maybe could stay in providing, and I would say the word, pay internships during the summer for teachers to go and use their time to update their skills.
And you would have
Sometimes
a greater impact, I think, because then we can spread that to our
you
students.
You will do, yes. So, but we cannot keep asking teachers just to put the time in the summer or after school and not recognize that that time is valuable as well. So
Absolutely,
I'm
we do.
pushing there, but I know that
I
that's
I
the issue
have
that I
to
have.
I have to plug the program at Georgia Tech that we have through Seismic. It's a gift program, and it's very much a way for teachers to spend their summer in research labs and whatnot. So let me change just a little bit. When we talk about workforce readiness, what does that really mean for the biotech students before they reach college or the workforce? What is workforce readiness for a high school student?
Do you want to take that one, Kate?
Sure, I'll tell you what we're teaching them. So a lot of what we teach with workforce readiness is showing up, on time, ready to work. So some of that's just it sounds very basic, but it isn't, like making them understand that they need to be on time and present, and just general workforce skills. And then specifically for biotech, at least what I'm trying to encourage are just the kind of more standard, good quality data collection, and the actual just basic lab skills and aseptic technique. That they're the very basic skills that I know for sure will be useful no matter how the industry changes, but also critical thinking and reasoning. So as far as the science goes, so I try anyway to incorporate into all of my classes some aspect of, here's the objective, design your own experiment, and then these are the supplies, and how would you write your own method. And they don't really get as much of that free critical thinking in their core classes. So I love that I call it like Montessori science. Basically, we get to come in and play a little bit in biotech. There's the freedom to do that, and real problem solving. I hope that's what the workforce needs. So this is where I need a partnership. I need someone to come tell me that this is what would be most useful for you.
Well, I'm working a lot with an organization called America Succeeds, and you can find them at americasucceeds.org. And they have this thing they call durable skills. And they've got a pretty comprehensive framework there for their durable skills. And, we call them soft skills, and I've heard people call them hard skills. But I think durable skills is a very good description for what those are. So I would commend America Succeeds to anyone who's interested in at least their framework. So back to the panel question, another panel question. What are the most promising opportunities to scale programs like these across Georgia?
So I'm about to offer registration for a summer week of training for any teachers who can get to Georgia Tech in the summer, June 8th through the 12th. I will pay $1,000 a teacher because teachers should not be expected to give up a week of their summer. And it's 40 hours of training in basically engineering life science. Kate's done it with me for several years now. We basically engineer a plasmid from start to finish and then talk about appropriate measures. And then we train for both high school students, their teachers, to help support students who are doing iGEM, which is the International Genetically Engineered Machine Competition, which is what I equate to sort of like the Olympics of genetic engineering in a competition form. And then BioBuilder, which is a much more approachable. It is free for Title I schools. BioBuilder is somewhat limited, though, by the number of clubs that they are allowing to participate. But in Georgia, we have 25 this year out of a total of 80. And BioBuilder, again, it's helping our program in the summer at Georgia Tech, helps teachers some of the basic skills of, okay, how do I approach this with students? What are possible for projects? How do I support them? What are resources that we can use? And then I provide ongoing support through the year. Like I'll visit schools, I'll Zoom in with students, to answer questions. And the BioBuilder Foundation does provide mentorship as well. So an easy thing for people to get engaged is just to email me and say, I'm interested, and I'll send you the registration link when it opens. And we would love to have teachers from other states as well. Unfortunately, I can't pay teachers from other states. My funding is rather limited in its scope. But if you can get to Georgia, I can train you.
Let me clarify a little bit. So you mentioned two things, and I want to make sure everyone picks up on those. So one is you have this opportunity for iGEM's people to come and get the iGEM's type training. Is that right? Nope.
Anybody? No. So most of the teachers that participated in my training last year, most of them are doing BioBuilder or Science Fair with their students. Only 2 teachers of the 9 that were trained last year are doing iGEM.
Great. Because what I wanted to do is make sure that because the iGEM's entry thing is kind of
Yeah.
significant. So let's make sure that we discuss now, how do teachers who are at schools who have no chance of affording that type of thing, at least not right now. BioBuilder is one of them. What are some other ways that they can engage their students in real world activities? There's got to be more than, go
K-12
ahead.
inventor. So I know Georgia Tech
Yes.
sponsors the K-12 inventor competition, which could be any type of invention. So that's just a general STEM competition. Genes in Space is sponsored by Mini PCR, and that's my kids love that. I always give that as an assignment when I'm at healthcare conferences. They could work on it themselves, but they design a project that, if it's chosen, can actually, when they pick one a year to be sent, their project gets sent off into the International Space Station to be worked on. I can't think, what are some other ones, Janet, that you think are good?
So I'd like to throw in, go ahead. Go ahead, Janet.
The BioGenius.
Okay.
So along with
Genius is a good one. Yep.
the science fair, there is a BioGenius category where students can do, if they can't find a group, because BioBuilder is with a team of up to 10. iGEM is also what team-based. If they're students that are just really passionate, but they don't have the opportunity, do a science fair experiment and have teachers help them that way. Or I would say do BioGenius, because that's specifically for life science.
So a couple of things we're doing in Georgia, Juan-Carlos, that you might have a comment about. If you're in a CTE program, we call them CTAE in Georgia, but it's a career track in the high schools. So those programs in Georgia are required to participate in an external competition of some sort. And we have a new biomanufacturing track in Georgia, and there are no biomanufacturing competitions. So these competitions are kind of the ones that we've been talking about are very biology focused and engineering biology, perhaps. So our biomanufacturing track was struggling with finding, well, what's manufacturing? So what they ended up doing is partnering with the manufacturing in their school, and they are doing robotics. And so robotics, everyone loves robotics. So we end up having a sort of a bio robotics, and we're able to participate in the robotics competition. One more before I ask you about it, Juan-Carlos. We have a number of ag-based biotech programs who are focusing on agricultural biotechnology, and they will participate in FFA. FFA has a lot of the really good leadership training that we're after, and those soft skills, durable skills that everyone needs. But they also have a way for agricultural biotech or bioag to participate in those competitions. But Juan-Carlos, am I off base with those ideas, or?
No, actually, I was going to mention the FFA opportunities, because all the students that participate in a CTE, eliminate the A, CTE cluster had to complete a capstone project that generally is a research-based project in the area that I'm working on. And some of those students participate in the FFA fair that actually provides very good ideas. I mean, we have students there that have developed methodologies to increase bee production in Georgia, to facilitate um, breeding of certain type of plants, and uh, I think, I don't know if cows or something like that. I don't remember, but I remember them doing presentations to the board about the winning projects, and they were very interesting. I mean, they were top of the line. So those are opportunities are there. One thing that I will mention, Philip, is the need for the biotechnology industry to work with the legislature about what, how can they be included in the list of uh, um, higher need careers in Georgia? Because
Mm.
there is a list that comes up every year,
Yep, high
and I don't.
demand.
High
They're called
demand,
high
yes,
demand. Yeah,
high
yeah.
demand, and I don't. I know that they just changed it. I haven't seen the new one, but I know that last year biotechnology was not on that list. So that's the work that needs to be done by all of you, because we are the only ones that can do that kind of job. The department,
That
that's
is a
not our
very good
role.
point.
Yeah. Mhm.
Another
Very good point.
another another way that students can or teachers can support their students is through HOSA. There are biomedical
Ah,
competitions within HOSA as well as Skills USA. So I know when I taught at Lambert and was a HOSA advisor, I'd have students do both biomedical debate, the biomedical lab skills. Many of those, my students would choose to further their skills by participating in those competitions.
And now they have
maybe
a
we
biotech competition
Yes.
that's a so it helps.
they do. Maybe we should address the bane of all of our discussions these days, and they're filled with acronyms. So FFA stands for Future Farmers of America, for people who do not know that. What does HOSA stand for? HOSA is
It
Health
doesn't stand
oh,
for anything.
health.
It
It doesn't?
used to
I
be
thought it was health occupations. Oh,
It used to be Health Occupation Student Association, something like that, but it actually doesn't stand for that. But it's basically future healthcare providers.
Wow,
Um,
HOSA.
HOSA, and then Skills USA is, and then technology. I've also had some students take iGEM, they're part of the iGEM project and compete in the TSA, so Technical Skills Association. And of
Okay.
course, all of those are associated with being a career technical pathway.
Now, maybe this is really a difficult subject, but you know, the college track programs could also participate in the CTAE programs should they choose. And I realize that's controversial because the CTE instructors don't speak with the college track instructors. But that's not entirely true, is it? They work together hand in hand. Is that correct?
for sure. Especially in biotech. If they didn't come in with a solid understanding of biology and chemistry and physics, I'd be in trouble. So no,
Yeah.
we have a strong relationship with our science department for sure.
And
Great. That's
I was going to
great.
say, I attended both sets of meetings.
Yeah. I'm
And
still on the list for both. I was
yeah,
in, yeah, for sure.
That's
I'm very
great.
grateful to our science department.
Do we, we got just a little bit of time for questions. Do we have questions in the chat? I haven't looked at the chat. So one of the questions I saw was how do schools that don't, go ahead, Megan.
Oh, we've been doing a pretty good job of answering some of them in the typing area.
I see Q&A.
Yeah, so I think we didn't address the second part of Austin's question, which was how would success be measured in programs like iGEM, since it's not as traditional?
so um, as I read his question, let me take a look at that again. Sorry, I'm losing myself in my where my chat bots are. Um,
It's under Q&A.
yep. Um, What specific pathways exist for under-resourced schools to participate? So unfortunately, iGEM is expensive, and there is nothing that the iGEM Foundation is going to do about that. So what I would, but iGEM is just one avenue for students to engage in biotech or specifically synthetic biology. And so we've mentioned several other ways, BioBuilder being one of them, where it is not um, nearly the expense to participate. And then how is success being measured in terms of the competition? Austin, I'm not sure I understand. So the iGEM competition, just really quickly, you are uh, basically, there's two types of awards. There's medaling, which is where you get a bronze, silver, or gold based on how much you as a team achieve during the year. So that one's really self-generated. We think we can get this part done, so this will give us a silver medal. And then there are special awards, which is where you're measured against other high school teams. And so Lambert did very well and was named the best software, um, had a best software piece of their project for this last year's competition. And that was against all of the high schools that competed, and there were 140 from around the world. So there's both the intrinsic, can I get a bronze? Can I get a silver? Or can I get a gold? And then there's also the being measured against other teams. BioBuilder is a showcase. So it is not a competition at all. It is a opportunity for students to pursue research and then have an opportunity to share that and communicate it.
I'm wondering if
So
he means like he's got to prove the success to an admin. So something like BioBuilder, the students they still create a poster, they create a talk, they write a paper. So I don't know if you can use that as a way to measure success, but there are products that are a result of their work.
So
And
I would
they
like to
can,
add a little bit to that. The way that you measure success in these programs is, do the students go into a STEM career? That's what we're after. I love the fact that they win and they go to Paris and all that. But if you have a team that participates and goes to either the competition or the BioBuilder showcase, that's success. That's an absolute measure for success. And I think you're right. Perhaps Austin's question is about, how does administration measure success? I get that. But success is clearly measured by students getting exposed to this type of material and learning about careers in this industry. And maybe this question sort of puts the onus on us to work a little bit harder to getting those teachers recognized for that effort in their schools in some way. Something to think about. I do want to make sure that we make mention of the homeschoolers question here. We have a question about homeschoolers because we all need to support them in whatever way we can. And so that question is about, how is it that participation in iGEMs for a homeschool group could be credited as a high school accomplishment or something that counts towards their graduation?
So I can answer this, and please, Juan-Carlos, correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a couple of years. But iGEM as an advanced genetic or DNA research would align. iGEM as AP Capstone, unfortunately, AP Capstone are singular individual projects. And so I don't know, unless you were very, very clear with the research and how the students were working, because the AP Capstone, from what I remember, was very clear that these could not be collaborative projects in order for them to get credit. Juan-Carlos, can you speak to that at all?
Let me start with the AP capstone research and seminar courses. Are, of course, they are open to homeschool students as they are to any other student. But remember, the homeschool student needs to follow the same requirements that are put by college board. Thus, we don't have any control over that. Credit on those courses have to follow whatever college board requirements are. And we have a question like that not too long ago from a homeschool parent, and our only answer is, you just need to follow what college board is, and make sure that you are checking the boxes on all the requirements of the type of research that this has to be done, the type of things that need to be reported, and the way they reported that according to college board and submitted to them, and they will provide the credit. That's out of hand. You are correct that the AP, the advanced genetics and DNA research course is something that basically has just a course definition that you can use as a common school parents to to teach you to engage your student into that type of research. Remember that a homeschool student, the parent is the principal, is the superintendent, is the one that decides the grades, is the one that decides the graduation requirements. Nothing of that comes from the public education system. So if you are homeschooling your kid and you decide that it would be great for them to do a research in genetics or DNA, that is your choice. That is the freedom that you have as a homeschool parent. Um, you provide all the structure for what has to be met in order for students to receive the credit that then you're going to submit to a higher institution for acceptance. If you want to bring the kid back to the school system, to the public school system, then the school system have to have in place a set of process and rules and regulations to evaluate the information that you're providing. And the school system has all the right to say yeah or no to accepting that type of credit. So that's the way that a public school and homeschool work together in Georgia. But the moment that you are homeschooling your kids, you can make any decisions towards graduation. That's the point.
Thank you. Perfect. I want to make mention, Terry, I think posted this Science for Society is a very good resource, and I'm glad she put that. I don't know if that goes in the chat or wherever. Science for Society is a good one. I would also like to mention BASE. BASE is a credential that's out of an organization called Biotility at the University of Florida. BASE is the only ISO 17024 compliant credential in the US for biotechnicians or people going into that field. It also is, I think, up to 38 states. It's recognized in 38 states. And so it probably is one of the only nationwide recognized industry credentials base. So I would very much promote that to everyone. Also, that's the only credential that we really have in the state of Georgia that we use for industry to recognize credential holders in that space. It's called BASE, and I certainly can get you more information about that if you like. More questions. Here's one about how is it that we're going to make sure durable skills take place through CTAE pathways? And I think that's the purpose of participation in the external activities, not just for biotech, for all the CTE pathways, is to make sure that those leadership and durable skills are delivered to the students, because that is so emphasized by all industries across the board. That's what everybody wants. So thank you for bringing that up. More questions? BioBuilders sounds like the one that we're all sort of interested in. BioBuilders is strong in this state, and I'm assuming it's in other states as well. So let me do this. Oh my
Massachusetts.
goodness, what is it?
In Massachusetts,
Ah,
it's very
so
strong in Massachusetts.
so we have one more minute. So let's go around and have concluding remarks, and we'll start with Janet.
The key to biotech, I think, that catches me and makes me get up every day and do the work I do is that every single school in this country has students who are capable of doing engineering biology or synthetic biology. And we have to get our students ready for this field. And every teacher, every student needs to have the opportunity to engage in this field, or we're going to be so far behind as a nation.
Oh my goodness, Kate, you have to follow.
I can't. I can never come after Janet. I've learned this in many years. I think I know iGEM is out of reach for most schools, but I think the lessons that we can learn from it of having authentic problems that students have agency in solving and designing, you can do that without being part of a competition. So I think you could, even like if I were in a school that we weren't going to actively engage in the competition, I would use the rubric and say, let's still as a class come up with an idea and we could pitch it to each other. And I think you can still utilize some of those same lessons.
Juan Carlos, bring us home.
I think I would close by saying that in Georgia, all school systems have a great deal of flexibility through the waivers process to be creative, inventive in the ways that they can serve the student needs. I encourage everybody that is teaching in a Georgia school to use those waivers that they have in their systems. And they are different from system to system to move education forward in a creative way that helps the students be productive citizens as they lead K-12. So that would be my closing statement.
Well, thank you all. And collaboration across the various sectors is exactly what strengthens Georgia Life Sciences ecosystem. We're really happy to be able to host such a prestigious group of leaders, and I hope that this short seminar has been helpful to most people relative to bringing folks, and let me echo what Janet says as well. We have a responsibility to do this, so we really do need to step up and make this happen in our high schools. So thank you all for your time, and thank everyone who joined us. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.